First of all, I'd like to thank you all for being here today, for coming here. And we're here not just to commemorate the passing of Noel, but to do what the Irish are famous for, to celebrate Noel by waking him through the memories we'll share today and afterwards. The relics of old decency. I remember my granny, Sissy Morrissey, using this phrase, and when I was very young it used to puzzle me. And it puzzled me further on into life. But Noel was definitely embodied this saying. He was in many ways a throwback to our parents' generation and possibly beyond. And he preserved the same decency of manner and fondness for the banter and the old sayings. We had known the likes of Sissy, Jack Morrissey, our own mas and das, our aunties and uncles. Noel would not have been out of place in a bar in the 50s with Brendan Behan, holding court, singing songs and telling stories. He carried on that tradition. He often quoted Behan when the subject of religion would come up. Even though he was a believer, Noel would claim he was a daylight atheist, but would only reach for God when the shadows encroached. Noel was a buzzer of the highest order, who through his prodigious memory could conjure up stories and songs and films so that you were there. The Wild Colonial Boy was a signature tune me ma Lily had for Noel. And sure, Noel was wild as a kid. He ran with the wolves, but he tried never to bring any of his woes to our door. And he took the brunt of any blows that were there. Mary tells a story of how returning home one night via O'Brien's back wall from one of his late night episodes. He climbed into the top back bedroom window and Mary didn't know who it was and started screaming. And he says, "You're not only screaming the house down, you're waking up the road." Our neighbour's response when he heard that Noel was using the back wall was, "Sure, I would have let him in. I would have left the door open." We had good neighbours and good people. Noel, for all his wildness, was as soft and sentimental as they came. Kieran tells me how he would gather the family photos around him and gently reminisce about those who went before him. Ma, Da, Anne and John. Noel had a heart the size of Liberty Hall. Noel really lived by the maxim, all men are equal. And he neither looked down on his fellow man, nor stood in awe of high station. He had a sharp sense of justice, and would not hesitate to run to the aid of those he felt were being wronged. His little brother John got the nickname of Rocky here in the Cabaret Tech, but it was Noel who usually ran to his aid. He told me and finished off the business. For all of that, Noel did not bow to superficial rules. His brother Jerry tells the story, one of the many football matches they played together. One day they were short of a keeper. Noel normally played outfield and played very well outfield, but he took to the goal. Things must have been going well for the team because Noel, being so bored, decided to light up a fag and got carded for having a cigarette between the posts. Noel was our finest footballer, but he never blew his trumpet about it. Noel was very passionate about his sport, and he revelled in the golden years of his team, Man United, but his heart was in the Irish team. When he moved into his new place last year, his battle-scarred Irish flag was first on the wall. Though he rarely got to see Ireland away, Noel really hated flying. Jerry again recalls the trip home after Italy, friendly with Italy in London, where Noel did a John Paul and kissed the tarmac in Dublin Airport after they touched down. Noel would have no truck with social technology. In fact, in the family it was said it was easier to get the Pope on the phone than to get Noel. He would often say to me about social networks, If I want people to know what I'm up to, I'll put it on the front page of the Herald. He preferred instead the company of good books and his beloved cinema. He could quote every plot line and script from his main man, Pacino, and watch broadly beyond his favourite gangster noir. But the real loves of his life were his children, Kieran, Lilo and Connor. I don't think you'll meet a prouder father. He often said that they were his greatest achievement, and he revelled in their company as they did his. They will tell you he left them with many happy and precious memories, and he would go to the ends of the earth for them. They will tell you he was not only an adoring father, but their best friend. At an Ireland match in Glasgow, when Noel and Connor were together, Connor's flight was later that day. Noel missed his own flight to stay with his son, just for the company. He passed on his love of books, his deep love of music and football to his children. And every year he called each of them at the time of their birth on their birthday. Noel became obsessed with golf in his later years and was brilliant at picking winners. So much so that his friend Keith tells us he was known as Noel in One in the local bookies. Noel may not have had a lot, but he would give you the shirt off the back. He had a beautiful generosity of spirit. On his return from exile in England a few years ago to this homeless state of ours, Noel spent a few years in the hostel off Parnell Square. Many of the men he shared with there struggled with their lives in various ways. I would drop in for a pint with Noel and these men on the way home from work in the Metro, Parnell Street, and I witnessed firsthand how Noel extended the warm hand of friendship, brotherhood and solidarity to these men who struggled. Noel was a real gent, a true Christian and a beautiful soul. We salute you, Noel, the next stage of your journey, and we will never, ever forget you. Thank you.